Like we said, my name is Riley Kirkpatrick. I'm from Sheridan, Oregon. I just want to shoot a thanks out to Kurt Fisk for letting me use his shop. I don't really have service out of my shop or anything. We live a little bit out in the woods, and so self-service sucks really bad. Kurt has good service and a great shop, and he's thankful enough to let me use it for it today. I'm just going to go over making a top and bottom fuller. I got 2 pieces of steel already in the fire, so we didn't have to wait for it. I got a piece that's 3.5 inches long and a piece that's 4 inches long. I'm pretty sure. No, one piece is 3 inches long and one piece is 3.5. So it's just 1.5 inch round, 4140. I like to use 4140 a lot for tools that I know are going to take a big, heavy abuse, maybe from random hammers. If I know it's just me using something, I'm okay with using something a little harder, like H13 or S7. I know what my hammers are made out of, so it's not a big old mystery. But when you're traveling around, going to do things with people, you never know what a guy has. So you it's just better to shoot for the soft side on those tools, so you don't have any issues or anybody bleeding around the shop. I like to try to have a tool in mind or the project in mind when I go to make my tools. So a top and bottom fuller is usually, obviously a fuller can be any different sizes, you know, but I use these 1/2 inch round top and bottom fullers quite a bit. And by 1/2 inch, I mean that radius is a 1/2 inch radius. So from here to here is a 1/2 inch, and then it's just a 1/2 of a circle. They're very good to use. They're kind of a basis for a lot of the tool making that you need to do. A lot of things need to be sectioned out, and that's what the top and bottom fuller can do very well. And so I figured it was kind of a good thing to show. We're trying to show somebody how to make a hammer, where I would have a train of tools out here, and it can be kind of intimidating. I really try to do a demo with the hope in mind that people are going to go do it. I really think I'm almost wasting my time and your time if someone doesn't try it. We have to go forward with the trade, and that's how the trade stays alive, is trying things and keeping information flowing. And I think that's why these videos and deals are a great deal. Everybody's in their comfort. You're able to learn. You can go back to them, and you can keep the trade going. So I got these pieces pretty warm. We're doing okay. Just for time's sake, I'm going to use some power today. You can do all these things with just a sledgehammer if you needed to do them. But if we have the opportunity to have power hammers and a press, we might as well use the things. You know what I mean? Kurt, would you fire that up for me? And so I'm just going to make some sections here. I'm going to make a rectangle for the top fuller, and I'm going to get the stem of the Hardy tool roughed out so I can fit it inside of my anvil. This first piece is a 3-inch piece. It's going to be the top fuller. So I got a section made. I just roughed it out into a rectangle because I know that's what I'm going to want in the end. So there's no point in just punching an eye in it and then try forging around the eye to get to a rectangle. I can just start at a rectangle, and then I just got to really hope I punch a straight eye because I don't have a lot of room to try to clean up or forge around it to get things straight again. And so it's roughly 1 inch by 2 3/4 by 2 inches. So I'm just going to draw the stem out for the Hardy.
Compete in barrier competition.
All right. So we fit inside of our Hardy really nice. We're going to come back out. I'm going to try to just get the top somewhat hot, but I more or less want to get it hot right where my transition is, because I naturally hitting it, steel wants to come to the hammer. And so if I just start whacking it and the whole thing's hot, it's just going to mushroom. I'm going to spend the whole entire time regathering the top. And so I really want to try to avoid that. So I want to try to get the heat somewhat in that transition area, because that's where I'm wanting my bumps to come from. I think I'm kind of on the Brian Brazil train on the eye punch. I don't like punching a round eye and then going to oval. I like to use more or less of a slit and a chisel type of punch, and so I conserve material. I really don't like working that hard. So I try to just do everything the bare minimum. I know that sounds lazy, but it really is what it is, you know. It's like, you don't work smarter, you're just working harder. So I try to just work as smart as possible. Even though I'm not that smart of a dude, I just try to not beat myself up too much so I can keep doing this for a while. All right, we're just going to come out. We're pretty much just going to get a mark in it. So, like, the tool is going to be offset a little bit, but I more or less want to put the eye in the middle at this point, because I know my strike, my working in is going to grow. When I go to draw it out and make it into a fuller, it's going to grow quite a bit. All right, we got a good mark going there. Now I'm going to throw it back in the fire, and I'm just going to get the side that I'm punching hot. There's no reason to have the bottom side hot right now, because it's just going to make it grow. So it's like, I might as well just get the side that I'm punching hot. And you notice when I'm punching, I'll switch my hand or I'll spin the tool, because no matter what, half of forging is just overcoming our bad habits as humans. We all want to toe our hammer. We all want favor one side a little more than the other when we're grinding and everything. And so something like, no matter how good I think I ground that punch, it's not centered and it's not great. And so by turning every single time, it's kind of recorrecting itself and hopefully shooting down the middle.
The crowd can't see. Are you working in a coal forge?
Yeah, we're working in coke here.
Coke forge.
Yeah, most horseshoeing competitions are done in coke, and so it's kind of just a good idea if you're going to be a competitive horseshoer to stay very familiar with it. And so then you're always like, it's just second nature. You don't have to think about it too much, even though I already was burnt up a piece. But all right, we got a good heat going. I was talking, and so like the Hardy's a little hot, so we're gonna have to gather the top again after we sledge it. But I think the best way to fit up a Hardy for an anvil is to make it on that anvil with sledgehammers and just set it down. Go for it, Kurt. We're gonna keep moving because we don't want to have our bad habits ruin our project. And we hit it nice enough that now we made a nice sweet collar all the way around it. And now it's fit really well to this anvil. So we're going to get it hot again, regather it on the top. But first we'll punch that eye.
Let's go ahead and start the auction if anybody wants to start the bidding on this top and bottom fuller that's going on.
All right, let's go for it. Kurt. We're just gonna do one hit. No matter what, like if you punched an eye before, you know better than anybody.
Len Gilmar's got $75.
You know better than anybody that a punch getting stuck in the tool sucks. Like it is one of the worst. It draws the energy out of the shop in a hurry. And so I try to keep my tools cool. This is made out of H13. I quench it in water all the time. But it goes right back into hot steel. And so I don't think that it makes a big old difference, right? But we just want to try to keep the thing unstuck. There's ways to get it out, but it's a lot easier to just kind of take it one hit at a time. You see people do it. The first hit on the punch is hard because it's not quite leveled up. Everything's got sunk down, and so it can be kind of rough. And so you'll see guys want to hit it twice, and all the second hit ever does is get it stuck.
They want to know if you're using lubricant or is that just straight water?
I'm going with both. So we have a little bit of pine tar lubricant here. It's what most horseshoers end up having in their anvils because we use it. It's a hoof packing. So it's ground up with, I think, like leather, but it has a little bit of iodine in it. So that's kind of the down part. But that's what we're using to lube, and then I go to the water when I could, like every 3 hits or so, I'll just completely cool it off. But we got that hole about halfway through. So I'm going to heat up that same side again. We're going to punch to about 5/8 the way through. And at that point, I'll have a nice shiny spot on the back side to go to and to indicate so we can get our eye straight through it. I'm going to turn that hammer back on first.
I think we're up to about $100 on this, which is a bargain for tools like this.
Yeah, tools like these you can rarely find in a store. That's kind of the downfall to them, is they're a handy tool, but you end up having to make them.
We got $150 now.
So I'm just going to regather my section. So I just remade a block, pretty much. This is about the basis of every hardy tool that I make. We'll start out like this. I can go almost anywhere with it. Obviously, there's some instances where this isn't going to work out. It's not going to be the material, or things are in the wrong place. But for this is about where I'm going to start.
I have a little trouble seeing my questions. If I'm missing them, I apologize.
That's okay. I can see him, Dan. Hey Riley. So we got a question here that are you not worried about swinging 2 sledgehammers on over the hardy of that anvil and instead of using like a break anvil?
I don't know. We've done probably some stupid stuff, but I've been with like 8 guys around an anvil where you don't got any room to move, and everybody's like, I have an understanding, a little bit of tool steel, and I understand what happens when it gets hot, but I've made enough hardies on my anvil where the whole hardy hole's blue. And knock on wood, I haven't had anything happen yet, but anything could happen, right? I think if you're worried about something like that happening, you should probably stay home most of your life also. This is a dangerous world out there. All right, we're going to go back to punching the eye, going to that 5/8. Things are hot, so you got to keep that punch cool. And I can tell how deep I'm going by it swelling. If I'm about 5/8 there, I'm going to get over this. I can see a little bit of a shiny spot. I usually try to pick out a piece of slag. That is where I think it is. You can make a center mark or something, but I just try to pick out a piece. They're pretty unique, like a snowflake. And I just try to find my swells and go in the middle of those. I'm gonna have Kirk give me a locating tap, something I can still correct if I need to.
So they want to know what size the Hardy.
I'm gonna turn it around and punch, give another hit, just to make sure I like it. Because when you turn it around, it'll change the mark, just because the punch is different.
So what size is the Hardy tool you're making? What size is the Hardy hole?
I think it's an inch. It's about an inch and an eighth, but it's a pretty general inch Hardy.
Okay.
So we're gonna set down the tool, the Hardy a little bit again. Hopefully that guy there or girl didn't jinx us and we break the heel off. All right. If we still got enough heat, I'm gonna go straight to the hammer. I'm gonna go ahead and regather that. All right. I got a section. I got a block, a blank. So now I can come out my next heat on this, and I can go ahead and start drawing it into a fuller. I'm not a guy that spends a lot of time on pretty at this point. I believe pretty firmly that the more heat you take on tool steel, it is getting softer. You are losing quality. And so if I can get a tool done in a pretty quick amount of time to where I have all my bones in line and I can go to the grinder, I'm gonna do it. If I can be quicker on the grinder, it's about making money. I think it's good to be traditional sometimes, but if you're gonna run a business, you gotta learn how to make some money sometimes. And I can already tell Kurt's first hit that we're over the top of that hole. Like it feels softer. Even though I'm not swinging, I can feel my punch give. And so like right now I get to a crossroads. I don't quite have enough heat to go ahead and punch all the way through. I could go a little bit further, but then I'm getting close to that point where I'm hoping to shear the plug out. And so I would rather stop now, get a little heat, so then by the time I get to the shear, it's kind of colder. And so I can actually shear the plug out instead of it cutting or forging around my punch.
I think we're up to $150 on these tools. We haven't had a bid for a while. Glenn Gilmore just posted $175 on the bid for the tools.
And the nice thing that this Hardy is like, it's not a huge Hardy hole, but it's big enough that whoever gets these, if they need be, they can grind up the Hardy to make it fit their anvil really sweet, or heat it up and forge it in there. So I'm pretty sure most anvils at this point have about an inch into their Hardy hole. I think the 7/8 Hardy hole is had its time. It's gone.
anybody wants to donate to this cause, there's a donate button for the NWBA. If we're not able to get that entering.
Now, like,
John has.
obviously, we got a mushroom, we got fish lips, but I could either waste the heat or probably two heat trying to get rid of it, or avoiding it, or pressing the billet before, right? Or I have the option, I can cut it or grind it right now while it's hot, or I can go ahead and cut it off with the hot cut, which I think that's what we're gonna go for.
We had a question from John Hofstetter. If you put wedges in your handles or not?
On top tools, I don't. I put them in my hammers, like in my hand hammers.
Yeah.
But that's it. The top tools are just fit with the handle is made to be a wedge, the eye's made to be a wedge, and so they're just wedged and compression fit together.
And Mike Hayes wants to know what brand of power hammer we got.
I can start seeing a shadow down there, so it's letting me know we're getting close. I can see some air gap. We're in the hunt. And you see what I mean? Like, it's kind of cooler at this point. That plug can shear a lot easier than if I would have been hot, you know. It's just got a little bit of hang up, so we're gonna come from the other side. It's just like working a wire back and forth. There we go. Have Kurt give me a little hit here. See, I didn't listen to my own advice. These tools, watch that. There we go. That's the guy that taught me how to make punches. He made it a big point that there's a reason that edge is there. And so that edge is there so you can come to the anvil and you can hook it with your hammer to pull that tool off.
What kind of power hammer and size are we using?
It is a 88. No, it's a 165, right? It's a 165-pound striker, and it came from this area. It belonged to a horseshoer named Roger Freeborn, which Roger's been around our industry for a long time, and so it's a pretty cool deal that Kurt was able to get it and kind of keep that going.
I think most smiths like to see their tools go to another person in the trade.
Yeah, it's a good deal. I don't think there's much out there that bothers me more than seeing a tool get wasted. You know, you see a lot of guys buy something like a hammer and they never use the dang thing. It just feels like a little bit of waste. So it's always good to see one go somewhere, or any tool go somewhere that you know it's going to get some use out of life. we're gonna go ahead and cut that fish lip off. Have Kurt give me a tap right here. There we go. I used to get really stuck up on them that I had to do everything forged, that I couldn't do anything like this, you know what I mean? But maybe I'm getting old, maybe I'm getting lazy, maybe I just always suck. I don't know. I really like, I'd rather just do things easy and fast. And I would like to think that's how the old blacksmith shops did it. They weren't trying to dink off. They were trying to make some money and go back home, you know? I still think they want to be skilled craftsmen, but I think there's a line. I'm gonna go off the anvil edge so we don't hurt Kurt's baby. There, and now everything's forged to the middle. It makes it really, really easy.
A lot of the shortcuts are to preserve your body too. It's a long haul to the end, and you want to make it. You don't want to wear yourself.
It really is. It really is. We're going to use the top and bottom fuller real quick to section out the striking in. I could just go to the hammer and just try to take a bite. It is very hard to be accurate at that. I mean, the top die is just coming down. You think you know where it is, but it's a little bit of like, see where she lands, and we'll kind of adjust after that. Whereas if I use the top and bottom folders to kind of butcher that area out and isolate it, now I can be very accurate. Things look a lot better, and I don't get as much drag into the eye.
I think we're up to 175 on the bid, so we still have some time, but these are going to be a beautiful tool when it's done.
I'm going to draw out that top folder a little bit more. Cool.
Can we see a close-up of the punch with the shoulder on it?
Yeah.
At some point when you're done with this heat.
I'll get some heat on this. Be nice to Kurt. Here's that punch.
Okay.
It's important to have kind of sharp edges around this part, because that's just going to cut the slug out. If you're too pointy, it'll just cut through. It'll completely slot. You want a slug to come out. All right, I'm gonna come up. I'm gonna get pretty close to the eye. I'm gonna choose the other side. It looks a touch shorter. That'll be a little better. All right, we're just gonna get it marked out here. Take a look, see if I'm on top of each other. Flip it, contradict our shockiness of the human. All right, I'm gonna have Kurt give it a for sure thing, confirm it. Cool, I'm gonna get some heat to it so we can get in there, and then I'll go ahead and draw the striking out on the hammer.
When you're at home by yourself, do you do it on your power hammer when you don't have a striker?
What's that?
Well, I said when you're at home doing these by yourself, do you use the power hammer when you don't have a striker, or do you have somebody help you?
Yeah, I use the power hammer and the press. Just about any time I can.
So for an operation like
this,
this,
it wouldn't be a very wise decision to. I paid a lot of money for the hammer, and it took me a lot of work to get it in. I used the crap out of that thing. And Kirk's giving me great hits. It is so hard to be a striker, man. No one really fully understands it, I don't think. Like, no, I'm not trying to toot the horseshoeing horn, but like, you see some pretty good strikers that are horseshoers that are competitors because we have to do it so much for each other. Because it's very rare that you go to a horseshoer shop and like has any of these tools. That is a super rare deal. But cool. We got a 1/2 inch mount down to the end. Yep. And we kept the point straight. The point is underneath the stem. You know, it's in line with everything. And so that makes it a strong tool. Obviously, if we needed to do something else, like if I wanted more of a butcher, I'd have my point off to the one side. So whatever my project was needed a really straight shoulder, where this will mostly be used on putting in fullering and stuff. And so you want it to be a wedge. So then the deeper that it goes, the sides are doing work. The sides of the top fuller are cleaning the hammer or whatever tool you're using in your project you're working on. Where if it's straight up and down, all it's doing is biting in, the project and the steel is growing, and the fuller no longer fits. So you really want to make sure that you have a wedge on it so that it's constantly cleaning all the way down in there. All right, we got a good heat here. Find my marks. Try to be very straight up and down. You're going to know if you're not straight up and down when your guy hits it. Because it's going to go do weird things. All right, so I got my marks put in there. So I'm able to isolate things out. I'm going to go to the hammer and start sectioning it down. All right, we got a striking in, drawn out, it's ready to go. Like again, I could go to cleaning up and wasting a bunch of time there. Or I can just grind it off when I'm done. If I have a good belt, a good grinder, it's gonna take no time at all.
Can we get a shot of the coal forge? Kind of get that in there one time at least.
The what?
Get a shot of the coal forge one time.
Yeah.
We haven't. Kind of get the back of it.
It's a pretty simple horseshoer setup. It can work for anything, right? But this is pretty generally what we're used to working out of. Bottom blast forges seem to kind of rule the roost, at least in America. In England, coke forges are losing their popularity because it's very hard for them to get coal or coke. And so, but for the most part, you'll see a side blast forge over there. A side blast works a little bit better in a production setting. They're a little less dusty. You don't have to clean them out so much in the clinker. They run a little bit easier. You don't have to run the air gate near as much. We're going to draw out the fuller end. We got it kind of drawn out. I have fish slips on there. I don't even care. We're gonna grind them off. And if you probably noticed, I went through that eye and I never touched it again because I know I'm gonna do some carnage to my piece. There's no reason to open that eye up just to have to go back through it again. And now I'm starting to get pretty wallered out. I'm starting to get a big eye in it. Where if I leave the eye pretty small, do all my damage, and then go back at the end and just open it up.
So you pretty much sell all your tools right when you make them, don't you? You don't keep any inventory. They're sold as you make them.
I don't have any inventory. I don't take custom orders anymore. I make what I feel like making, whatever my heart is in that day or whatever I'm really pumped up to get done. And I think that produces a better tool. I took orders. And so, someone would say they want a hammer. Well, it got to the point that I was about 2 years behind. And no matter what, if you tell a guy that he has to wait 2 years, even if they're fine with it right up front, they are not fine with it in 6 months. They want it. And so it just kind of created a deal where I felt like they owned me. I couldn't go hunt. I don't feel like I could work in my yard, nothing. I felt like I had to be in the shop catching up on orders. And it just it made the shop no fun, and that wasn't a good place to be in life. And so I stopped doing that completely. It was a hit on my finances because obviously I didn't take in any money for quite a while until I caught up on those orders. I got them caught up pretty quick, and I haven't looked back. I just make what I want, sell it. People get the thing right away, and they get to see it when it's done. They get to know what it looks like before they ever hand you money. Where anybody that makes handmade products knows that it's hard to take a custom order on a handmade product. You know that it might not look like that again. Like it could be really rough to get it that same way. You can get it close, but it's not going to be exactly the same thing. Or you get people demanding weird things. They don't even know what they're asking for. And so it's just easier to they can see what's done right in front of their eyes. We're going to open that eye back up. Oh, you did good. I was done. That's when it's good to have a good striker thinking for you a little bit. I was just going to let Kurt drive that baby home. He thought that wasn't a good idea, which it wasn't. All right, now we're getting to the point where the eye is going to start getting kind of tight because we don't have a bottom. So I'm just going to open it up to the point where I can get my hand drift in there. I'm not worried about flipping my hand so much anymore because the hole's in it. The punch is going to follow the hole. All right, we're done using that tool. I'm going to get another heat, drive my hand drift in, and I'm going to flatten the cheeks out on the power hammer. The whole goal with cheeks, the cheek needs to kind of be wider than the striking end and the working end. Obviously, that can't be accomplished all the time. But for the most part, you want it wider because then it has more grip on the tool than the force that is being applied against it. That's, for me, when guys post tools online and stuff, if it's got a valley where the eye is, I instantly know that guy's going to be breaking handles left and right. It's not going to stay tight on the shaft. This is going to be a headache. Where if you can get some nice cheeks on something to get a grip, you'll have a lot better chance of things going your way. And I'll grind all these things up too, obviously. We'll get them all pretty looking and good and useful. Kurt's a good striker. He's got all my tools waiting for me in his hand. That's just the type of guy he is. All right, I'm going to go small side first, whichever holds the smallest. I don't really care. I try to dance in the hardy hole, so I'm not just hanging up on one egg. All right, give her a couple taps. We got the drift a little stuck. That's okay. I'm just going to come from the top with another drift and just pop that one out. Hopefully. This is real life right here. And stuff goes bad. I'm just going to try hitting it to get things loose. I already know what happened. Like, the punch had a little bit of a burr on it. And then I was an idiot and I just kind of clamped down on it. And so that the steel bit around the burr. We're there pretty hot and heavy right now. we're in it. You guys gonna see that trick again? Man,
there you
we're
go.
free. We didn't ruin the day. It was close though. It was close. All right,
What
I'm gonna go through the other side. I'm gonna get it hot first.
So what kind of steel do you use for your drift?
H13. H stands for heat. And so that's why I use it, because they get really hot. I've used 4140 for a drift if I'm making things by hand or with a striker. But if I'm making something under power, I really want H13. It just gets hit so much harder.
And do you do any heat treatment on it, or just let it air cool?
I let them air cool and I temper them. I've never had a drift break on the working end. I always have them work hard and crack at the top of the striking end. And so I try to keep them good and tempered. Sweet. Kirk cleaned it up for me so we didn't look like idiots again. I'll get a little bigger hand. Kurt, we're going to go through with that punch real quick. Since we screwed so much stuff up. We're just going to open back up. Now, I'm not going to get crazy again. I'm going to stay here until I get that drift out the other side. See, that worked out a lot better. It wasn't as crazy.
So how do you temper the H13 drift when you temper it?
I like to do it in an oven. I do it at, like, my oven's like, I think it gets to like 455 or something weird like that, like actual temperature. And I keep it in there for about an hour. But I don't like when you get people too caught up on that time. I think it's better to learn your oven and your tools that you have and learn to look for a good straw color. A good deep straw color is a good soft, safe tempering. So you need to have the tool polished somewhat to see the straw, and you need to have it clean of oil. So I usually take rubbing alcohol, clean the tool off after I polish it up, throw it in the oven, and I come back and I check till I get that straw color. And that's why probably a lot of my tools are polished, is because that's how I temper. And so I have to go through the process anyways. It's just my deal. I know not everybody's into polished tools, but I like them. And it's just a part of the process I already know. All right. We're getting close here. All right, our punch is almost out the other side. So when I'm forging on that drift, I'm forging around the drift. So when I'm hitting here, the sides are growing. Obviously, the drift is a little bit round, so that's the way it goes. This drift is a fuller on the inside. So I'm drawing it out. The eye's getting bigger. It's drawing out the cheek, and then boom, pop those cheeks open, so it'll drop my drift off. We have a pretty good eye going. I would just like more. I think it's good to have a good amount of timber in your tools. I think it helps it not break as easy. One thing from like a safety standpoint when using these, a tool will get stuck on there sometimes. Use this one for an example here. So you got your tool stuck on there. It's really appealing to do this. Like it really is. But you're guaranteed going to be wearing shrapnel every time. Just don't do it. Don't hit that in. It's going to hurt. This one more heat on the eye, and then I'm gonna clean up my fuller, my fuller end a little bit. All right. Came off 100 times easier. One more on the other side. Cool. All right, I'm going to come out. We're going to flatter out the fullering in. Just make it nice. I got some check marks from the hammer just because we were using flat dies. And I'm not very good on the hammer. I think that's one of my favorite parts of being a blacksmith or doing this is we're allowed to self-correct all the time. You know, there's really nobody else to blame. It's hard to blame the hammer, you know, the power hammer, hand hammer, anvil, anything. But like usually you can look right back in the mirror and that's the person to blame and what went south. That's one of my favorite parts about it. It's easy correction. All right, don't got a lot of heat on it, so I don't want to do a lot. We're just gonna clean up.
We got 275.
Cool. I think we're gonna come out and we're just gonna add just a little flare. We're just gonna add some top and bottom fuller on this. Just so it kind of looks nice. It'll isolate the cheek a little bit, and that'll be it.
So we're up to 275 on this tool here, which is a bargain. If you're like me, you follow Riley on Facebook, you see him make these tools and sell them instantly when they're still hot. So you might not get a chance to buy one until he just feels like one. We all wish we could just make stuff and sell it instantly on Facebook, but it doesn't work that way for us all.
It definitely took some years of already having a reputation to get to that point. But,
Yeah.
and I think it's like, I work very hard on trying to sell quality. I don't try to just produce things. I'm really trying hard to produce nice things. No one wants to be remembered by some bad tool they made a long time ago or something, you know? That's what we will be remembered by when we're gone, is the things that we leave behind. Check my marks. Recorrect. That was a lot better, a lot more solid. So I know I'm probably straighter. And like, no matter what, if I know it looks easy working with Kurt after time, but me and Kurt have been working together now for about like 5-6 years of doing this stuff. It's not every day, but it's pretty consistent of what we work with each other. And that's what it takes. It just takes getting familiar with somebody and trusting them, you know? I don't even have to tell him what I'm trying to do after time. He already kind of sees me correcting. We're going to kind of just take the edges a little bit so that everything's clean. These are hard hits. All right, we kind of bob stuff out. We're going to clean that up with our splatter. We still got plenty of heat to do so we can. This is a good, like, I kind of call it a confirming heat because things aren't getting moved too much. They're just kind of getting put in place. Cool. We got a top and bottom half round fuller, or not half round fuller, just fuller, half-inch fuller. Obviously, like, they're slaggy and not that cleaned up right now, but like, I'm okay with it. I know that the bones are there, everything's down the middle. I can correct everything that I need to correct on the grinder easier at this point than I can on the hammer. And there's really not much to correct, so I think it's going to be pretty quick and easy. I really appreciate you guys asking me to do these things, and appreciate people taking the time out of their weekend to watch it. I think it says a lot about each person that they're obviously looking to improve themselves. And so I just ask you, don't let it end here. Keep going with it.
I had a question for you. If you could just kind of tell the crowd a little bit about your world travels. You do tool clinics. You compete in horseshoeing events, and that's something that I'm gonna, when the pandemic's over, I'm definitely gonna make one of those horseshoeing events and get some pictures and see what's going on, because not only are you forging really hard, but you also got to put them on the horse.
Yes,
and
it's a cool deal. It's a world that not that many people really know about. Even people that are horse owners and people that are blacksmiths. We're kind of a little secret, I guess, you know, but even though we're not trying to keep ourselves one, there's a whole slew of competitive horseshoers out there, but it is the small percentage. Like, I think, you know, like, bikers are like the 1% of the whole motorcycle owning world. I think we are the 1% of the farrier world. We are the guys that put the effort forward. We're keeping our trade alive, all these little things. And so what we do, like, me and Kurt both will compete under a association called the World Championship Blacksmith. I know blacksmiths probably gets a little bit turf that we steal a name, but that's what we think we are. We're, you know, every blacksmith shop had different things going on, and depending where you are in the world back then. And horseshoers were blacksmiths depending on where you were, or he also had to be everything else. So we go to these competitions. A judge gets picked. A judge is very respected in our industry, and he will make a list of specimen shoes. Thankfully, the World Champion Blacksmiths runs the same format every time. And so you kind of have to learn how to play the game. And so we'll get these flyers in the mail, and the flyers will have our classes. We always have a 2-man class where we have to work with a striker, and we always have an individual class. And so the 2-man class will obviously be bigger shoes. Usually there's shoes for a draft horse or such, or there's something we have to jump well together. The last one, we had to make an Australian hind draft shoe. So we had to take 2 8-inch long pieces of 1 1/4 by half And the first thing you got to do is jump weld those together so then you can make a horseshoe. So they're pretty hot and heavy classes. They're always an hour long. And so you learn how to get things done in those time limits. They are very, very competitive. There's usually about 100 guys that show up. The top 20 shoes on the table will set dead on the specimen shoes pretty much. Like it's a 64th that is deciding in between first and 15th. It is so exact. I mean, everything's done down to calibers and measurements. Nail holes drop through nail holes. It is very, very exact. And so going through the competitions, you can make teams. And our competitions are all over America. I think I've pretty much competed in almost every state at this point in some way, form, or another. Little competition or big competition. But we get to travel all over America. There's usually 5 competitions a year that make up the series. And the points get added up at the end of the year. I was lucky enough to make a Category 2 team. I made that 2 years ago. There's 4 categories, so everybody's kind of in their own division. You're competing against your own salt a little bit. And so I got to make the Category 2 team. We got to go to England. We got to stay there for 10 days, work in a very respected farrier shop over there. And then we got to go to the international horseshoeing competition and compete against all the rest of the world's horseshoeing teams. Every country sends a team, and so they're all there represented for a horseshoeing event. It's kind of set up the same way. They'll be set up in either 2-man or single classes, or they'll be set up in a team event. The team events will be 4 guys, and each guy is responsible for a corner of the horse. And so like you were saying, Dan, it's really cool that it's involved with horses because a horse has a lot of blood in it. And so we cannot be off. Making tools is easy. There's no blood involved whatsoever. I'm just putting a hole in something and putting a handle on it. Like, it is so simple compared to the point of we now have to crawl underneath this 1,000-pound horse that he's a little on nerve anyways, always. We just show up out of nowhere, crawl underneath of them, and we're driving nails in their feet and smoking shoes on red hot. So you got to have horsemanship and you got to have a knowledge of anatomy so we can get through it. But you have to be very efficient at the anvil because you can't hold your teammates up. You got to be on top of the ball. And so it's a very built up thing where it is competitive. And I think that's why horseshoers, we push each other a lot. It is not a very easy world that we live in. If somebody probably comes to a horseshoeing clinic, they'll probably think that we're not very nice to each other. We're kind of a rough bunch, drinking beer at 10 in the morning on a weekend and kind of cussing each other out and telling each other what we suck at in life. But it's a shot of enthusiasm when you go home because you know where you suck and you can't wait to go up and show your buddy that you don't suck there anymore. So it's a really good world, I think, to be in. It's not for everybody, I don't think, but it's something I thrive in. And I think it's something that a lot of people will thrive in, it's just a competitive nature. And that's kind of the whole saying is it's education through competition.
All right.
So it's been a very good deal.
Well, I think we closed the auction at $325. So that was a pretty good price.
Thank you, guys.
And the person that got the bid will get the information from them and you'll get the tool off. And
Awesome.
I sure appreciate you doing this demo. I'm hoping in the next few months, I doubt if we get back in the mentoring center, I can get you into my shop and maybe we can make some tongs or something this fall or early winter. And we want to see you again. But I'd just like to put the word out to all of the farriers. We'd like to see them join the NWA. I think they have a lot to offer. So any of your friends out there that are farriers, tell them to come and join us. Anybody that swings a hammer, we're all for it. And the fact that they hold up one corner of a horse afterwards to put them on the horse just makes it a little more interesting. So anyhow, they're definitely welcome to join, and I think they'd be an asset to our club.
For sure. I think there's a lot to learn from both sides.
And
hey guys, this is Kellen. Dan, thank you so much for hosting. And Riley, that was a super fun demo to watch, man. I definitely learned a few things. Just want you to know, we got folks in the crowd who are just saying how great this demo was. It was really well received. And if y'all are interested, we do have a short video of Riley's shop I can share right now, and everybody can see where this magic happens in real life. So Riley, if you could just tell us about this, are you able to see it? Do you got yourself a camera where you can see this thing?
Yeah, I can see it. So my shop is pretty
Yeah,
ratty,
if you want to just give
right?
us a narration.
I rent, and so I'm in an old shop, which is an old barn, equipment shed. So I'm really not trying to put much money in infrastructure in the place. I've already put enough money in electricity on that wall, you can see, and so I try not to add any more to it. It's a very open environment. I like it. I like the outside, so I really hate being crammed inside of a building. Like I don't enjoy it at all. So I can see outside. I can enjoy nature a little bit while I'm working. And I know it's not for everybody, but it's how I like it. I got a gravel floor. It's nice for some things. It sucks when I got to roll the welder across the shop, but otherwise it's pretty good. You can see my coke forge and my gas forge. They're kind of sitting together. I just got a shelf off the side of the coke forge to hold the propane forge. I run a side blast forge that I made. So it's just like the air comes from the side out of a water cooled nozzle, pretty much, compared to coming out of the bottom. And it just has the dust in it is the bowl, the mix the fire. I run the same thing in most horseshoers, and I run about 180 to 200 pound anvil. Mine's 180 pound heavy button, and it sits on a stand. I think the stands are like 250 pounds. I think they're like 250 to 300 pounds because this anvil stand's filled with sand. And so it's super heavy, compact, takes a big hit, and they're quiet. They don't move around very much. I think they're probably the best anvil stands you can get. I have a sledge block back there, and behind the forge there's a hydraulic press. It's a Riverside machine press. Everything's really tight. I got more room in the shop, but I'm one guy, so I don't want to move very far. I want to be within range of all my tools, and so I can just get some stuff done and not add miles to my feet. And
Riley, do you got like big power coming in, or are you running a phase converter for that hammer?
So yeah, the hammer itself is a 3-phase 20 horsepower motor, and so I didn't have near enough power. I still don't have 3-phase. I'm running a phase converter. I'm running a 50 horsepower phase converter to run it, and I had to run a new 400 amp service to just that side of the shop to run through that hammer. So it goes into a phase converter. From the phase converter, it goes into a transformer that jumps it from 240 to 480 volt, and then it goes into just an on-off switch so I can start the phase converter without a load, and then goes into a soft start. And I got the Baldor soft start. I got the hammer from John Immerling out of Gearhart. I'm sure a lot of people know who John is and probably seen the hammer. So I was really happy again to keep the hammer in Oregon, and it didn't have to go very far, and it's getting used. And John kept this thing in very, very good condition. I thank him about once a week that I bought a hammer that I'm not wrenching on all the time. Like I just gonna make money with it. And so John was nice enough to give me the transformer in the soft start when I got the hammer. And so it made it a pretty easy, well, as easy as a big hammer is to set up.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm going to press play on this thing so we can see the next part.
Cool. You can kind of see that vise right there. Yeah. That vise is called a Leisure Gator vise. It's a horseshoer. He came up with them and he makes them, and they grab onto different thicknesses, which is anybody's used a vise before, like that's the worst thing ever to try to grab a taper. And that thing will grab onto a taper. It's spring loaded, holds it really, really well. And I run coke out of my forge too. I don't like burning coal that much.
That was like a big old pile of horseshoes outside your door.
Yeah, yeah. It's a weird thing that horseshoers do. That some dudes will get rid of them. They'll take them to the scrapyard, man. I don't know. When I'm an old guy, I just want a big old pile that I can look over and be like, I did something with my life. You know, it's a little bit of something that you can look at as a monument, you know. And there's horseshoes out there. They got like a school bus size stack of horseshoes. It can be pretty impressive.
Oh, well, thanks for sharing your shop with us, and thanks for taking that video, Dan.
Yeah, yeah, it was fun.
Well, I mean, we got any final questions from the audience here before we sign off? I mean, I would just kind of relay that lots of folks are like, Charlie says, thanks for the demo. Raghu, great stuff as usual. Thanks, Riley and the NWBA. Anton saying, thanks a lot for the demo, Riley. It was so cool. Super demo, guys. Thank you from Peter Clark. Billy O, yes, great demo. Thanks. Trisha, fantastic demo. Thank you. George Blackman, thanks for the great demo. I mean, everybody's into you, dude. You did a great job.
Thank you very much. It's always a hard thing to get in front of people and show them what you know, because we never think we know very much.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm going to stop this recording and kill this video. But thank you so much. And hopefully we will see you in person at one of these things coming up. We'd love to still get you around for a main demonstration one of these days, as soon as we're able to do it again.
That'd be great.
Cool. Well, thank you all for coming. Have a great day.